GunninGamerz here. We're finally back to do our review of our SKRS shifter by CSIO Technologies. Now, if you remember, about a month ago, we were the very first to get this shifter in. I've got about 100 hours of use on it. I really wanted to just spend some time using it since we were, after all, I guess, the beta testers. And we've had such a lovely time with it in the past month. So I'm finally getting around to do a review because you noticed over here we've got the next accessory that they've added, and that is the EasyJake button, which is over here on the side. I just went out to the shop last week to meet up with Corey and Sean out there at CSIO Tech, and they got us set up with that. But it is just a wonderful accessory to have. So today you're going to get to look at the entire unit that they're selling. The button, we've got the shifter, of course, and even the medallion. They threw one of those in as a freebie if I went out there to get it. So we're just loving it. It is absolutely such a wonderful thing to have if you're into playing American and Euro Truck. It works very good for both of those games, and we're going to take a look at the shift pattern for both of these games, and I'm going to jump into both American and Euro Truck so that we can take a little bit of a look at how those shift patterns work and how nice this thing is. And I'm going to prove to you why, if you're a truck fan, you need to go ahead and pick this up as soon as possible. Before we go ahead and take a closer look, though, I do want to point out I am still using the G27, and because I haven't been able to let go of all the buttons, that's the reason you see this guy still sitting over here. Of course, I've got the default knob back on. If you saw in our first look video at this at the SKRS shifter, you saw we're actually hooked it up to here. Now, it works very wonderful on this style of shifter, but since this is a little bit more light duty and it's actually all plastic inside, we decided to upgrade to that Thrustmaster since this one is 90% metal, and it's a lot more durable. But again, I don't want to deter anybody away that has one of these, because this knob did very good on here. It's just that you kind of want to use your fingers to float the gears in. Definitely not any aggressive shifting going on. So as you see here, we've got the custom medallion, and I've also got a camera that doesn't want to focus. There's not a lot to look at right here. This shift pattern, it's not something that I needed because I already know the shift pattern, but it is kind of a nice little accessory. And as I think they said in one of their videos, it does kind of change like the feel of the knob on top. It's kind of a more rounder than what was in there by default. So for $10, you might want to think about picking something like that up. But over here you see the EasyJake, and that is just a wonderful, simple little toggle. And this is definitely an accessory, again, right out of a real life truck. If you go to EasyJake's website, they advertise this guy to put right on your real life truck, and to make it a lot easier for real life truckers to not have to reach up and flip the toggle on their dash. This is a whole lot more safe. Naturally, your hand is going to be on there, and you can flip that with your pinky as I'm doing right there. Two other very important things I want to point out real quick. If you're wondering what this is just a cut piece of a ballpoint pen that we fashioned in there to block from going over into these unnecessary gears right here that you're not going to use for trucking. And it was a very cheap solution as far as stopping from going all the way over. Don't need to do that, but it is quite handy. Sean and Corey over there at CSIO Tech have talked about making a custom plate or getting a custom plate machined for this shifter, which would very easily just unscrew. You take this off, you'd screw the new one on. But as of yet, they don't have that. So maybe that's a future product, and I will probably pick one up as soon as they come out. But this gets the job done for right now. And then if you look over here, this has been something I've been asked quite a bit about, is the cable for the shifter. People have been concerned about the length and things like that. Right here you can see there is a whole bunch of cable. I've got it plugged into my keyboard, so I don't need all that cable, but you've got enough here to run all the way and plug into your neighbor's computer if you wanted to. And down here, you've got the cable running along the desk. Some people have been concerned about having the cable getting in the way, and the cable's going to get in the way, and I'm going to smash it, and it's going to get caught, and it absolutely is not a problem. There is no problem. It works just fine. The cable is never in the way. You don't know it's there. I had the same results when it was hooked up to a much smaller rod here on the G27. And yes, the Thrustmaster lifts it off a little bit higher, but it just is not an issue. So do not for 1 second worry about the cable on this shifter. So again, quick review on the buttons. The EasyJake over here, as we just talked about. As Corey and Sean have said, we are also beta testing this. They just got these in as a new accessory. So I would highly recommend that if you're going to order the knob, save up the extra $35 and get the EasyJake on there as well, because if you order it afterwards, there's a little bit of soldering. There's one wire I think that has to be soldered, and it's very simple. Most people won't have any issue with it, but you would have to have, of course, a soldering gun. If you order the whole unit, I think they put it together for you. Again, you can shoot your questions over to the CSIO Tech website. On the front, you've got your range selector, and that's going to select from your lower to your higher gears. And then over here is the actual splitter, which will split your gears. So you'll have 1 low, 1 high, 2 low, 2 high, so on and so forth. Let's go ahead and fire up the shift pattern for the Eaton Fuller. That little graphic right there explains to you exactly what you saw on the top medallion here. And you'll basically have reverse, high and low, and then you'll also have low and low and low high down here, which you don't normally use these gears. This is mainly, I found, if you're on an off ramp, on a hill, something like that, or you're pulling one heck of a load going up through a mountain. You'll get down sometimes when you're starting out and use the lows, but really not a gear you're going to use too much. So most of the time you're going to be in first, second, third, fourth. You range select up in the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at that in game here in just a second. And then if you jump over and look at the Scania shift pattern, which is one of the shift patterns we have in Euro Truck, it's the one that I like because it's the closest to the Eaton Fuller setup in the fact that it has reverse up in the top left corner. Now, the Volvo is another option, and I think it's down over to down here. I'm not really sure. I've never used it. I just know that the Scania one is up here, and that's the one I prefer. So, again, you've got reverse up here. You've got 1, 2, 3. I should have had this down. And then you'd flip up to 4, 5, 6. Each one of those can be split. There's where your 12 speeds come from. So that's the Scania. Well, again, we're going to take a look at that here in just a second. So let's go ahead and jump in the game so we can see it all in action. Okay, well, by the time you see this video, there will be complete support. There already is complete support with the last update for the CSIO SKRS shift knob. It is in the game. You have to do absolutely nothing. Just go in here and select that. Here you can see my Thrustmaster shifter that I've got, and of course the G27. When you go into your keys and your binds, which is right over here, and I know that video is in the way, so I do apologize. We'll scroll up here. Here's the engine brake. You'll see the engine brake right here. And this is the toggle, and then you've actually got the button, and that's where you're going to... I used to do a toggle so that I had to reach up to my keyboard and hit the, I think it was the B key, in order to get the engine brake to toggle on and off. Now with the EasyJake, I undid that and put the engine brake right here. So you just basically click for on and click that way for off. So very simple. All of it supported. There's really, it just seconds to get this thing set up. It takes absolutely no work. Of course, make sure that you're running the Eaton Fuller 18 speed in your options as well. All right, well, we're finally in the truck seat here. Let's go ahead and fire this up. Point out real quick that you do get 4 reverse with the 4 reverse gears with the Eaton Fuller setup, and that is R1 low, R1 high, and if you're flipped up with your range selector, you're going to get R2 low and R2 high. We can see down here our lows and highs are working very nice, and up here we can see that our splitter is working very nicely as well. Let's make sure that our parking brake is off. It is. We're hauling 110,000 pounds of sand. I am running a mod to make the loads a lot heavier just so that I can work my trucks a little bit more. But we're going to go ahead and get started off and show you how you're going to want to shift if you've never done this before. Almost could have used the low right there, but normally you don't need them. Get out onto the pavement. Go ahead and select up and get ready for our 5. I don't use any of the high gears myself until I get around 6th gear, but sometimes when you're on a hill with a big heavy load like this, you definitely might want to choose to use those. We've got our EasyJake turned off right now. Go ahead and flip into 5 high. Probably could have skipped that one there, but we're just going through them. We'll go right to 7 high. You want to keep your RPMs right between $1,000 and 1,500. Eight low. I'm trying to see if we can get up in the 8 high before this corner. And there we are. Now we're cruising. Although the speed limit's 70 and we're not even doing but what, 60? 62. Big heavy load here. With a lighter load or no load at all, you'll be using these gears a whole lot more. Of course, you're gonna be skipping gears, maybe first. I'll do first, third, back to fifth, so it's like this. And then sometimes back to 7th. We'll Jake right here for a sec. Actually, I think we gotta go up just a little bit farther. It always tricks me when I come through here. It looks like it's time to slow down. You're coming into town, but it's still 80 here. Beautiful sound. Need a shifter there in the 5. Didn't quite have it. If we wouldn't have so much weight on here, we would have been okay. The light worked out for us. Now I do have traffic turned off right now. I didn't want to deal with having cars pulling out and everything else. Don't normally run like this, but just for today's demonstration. So you can see how nice it is to get through the gears. See if we can't get it up to speed one more time, and then we'll come down in our gear. We're in 7 low there. And we've got a little bit of a hill. We can go ahead and select up to 7 high because you can see we got a little bit of a downwards hill here. We got our Jake turned off. And you can float the gears. That's something that in this game I haven't been able to master because you don't have the force feedback to feel the gears going in. And so I tend to grind them a whole lot. We can somewhat attempt to do it here. Actually, we gotta slow down again already. Let's get our Jake back on. A little bit early, maybe. Going to 5 low here. Back into 6 low. All I'm doing is just letting off the accelerator and it pops back into low. Just let my foot off. Need a third camera. Alright, we got a hill here. We should be able to get some speed. Another hill. Lots of hills in here. Probably should have grabbed a little bit lighter load. It's really working this truck. That's why I run this mod. I love it. Again, you want to keep your RPMs, or try to keep them between $1,000 and 1,500. That's going to be your power band. Well, and you can see right there. Let's go to 7 high, and I'll try to float into 8. Got it right there. I gotta say, sometimes I can do it, sometimes I'll just let them grind a little bit, but I just find it incredibly hard myself. Maybe some of you have mastered it, but I find it incredibly hard on a virtual truck when you don't have the force feedback. I'd have my Jake off. Coming into that corner a little bit hot. Right there. That's how it's gonna work on the Eaton Fuller. Again, I'll show you here low what that's all about. Works really good on a hill. What are we doing here? About 5 miles an hour. Got it revved out. Works good when you're on a hill and you're trying to start out. But normally it's just a gear that you're not gonna really use a whole lot of. Let's go ahead and check it out on the Scania over in Eurotruck. Alright, well, we're pulled over on the side of the road here somewhere in Europe, and I've got a excavator, it looks like, on the back that I think weighed around, I don't even remember. Looks like 54,000, so not too darn heavy, but we're going to go ahead and get going, and this is again going to be the Scania shift pattern. As far as in the game, you've just got to select the Scania. I don't know much about the Volvo, I haven't run that one. I like the Scania because reverse is in the same spot. First is down here, second, third, fourth, of course is over here, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So we've got our parking brake off and we're in one low. Again, I've got traffic turned off right now just for this demonstration. Not running any mods over here. You just pretty much haul right through these gears. I find these trucks like to eat up my RPMs real quick. A lot of power, and sometimes I'm running lighter loads, but definitely not always. And I've been finding on Eurotruck that normally I will skip all the high gears until maybe fifth, but usually sixth. I'll just go right through, hit fifth. This one has been sometimes where I'll start out in 2, 3, you know, flip up, go to 4, 5, and 6. Same way with the settings, everything is exactly the same. Just go into your settings and set it up to detect the SKRS shifter. Change your braking option for your engine brake. We're in 6 high, just like that. There's our engine braking on, off. Go back into a low gear. And there is definitely times, let me tell you, that you want to turn this on and off quite a bit. And it has been so nice. Especially like if I was to go into like 5, low gear, and I start wanting to get going again, my guy's trying to fall asleep on me. And I wanted to shift into the 5 high. You don't want the engine brake to come on every time you let off the accelerator, so I find that it's just handy to turn it off in that situation. Again, there's 5 low. And a 5 high. I've never really tried to float gears over here. Let's see. Not too bad. Meant to be in low. Drop into low. See all these switches here, if you were to be cruising and you wanted to go to 6 high, you don't want your engine brake on. So it's really nice to have this, because I'll find myself, and I'm not concerned on where I'm going here, wanting to hit it in a corner like that, and then, you know, maybe I want to kind of coast a little bit. Really a lovely feature, both, again, in virtual truck, and I'd have to imagine in real life trucking. this accessory would be well worth it. So you're looking at about $35 US for this option and $100 on this. And as SCS actually pointed out, we better pull over before this guy crashes. Whoops. Look at me. Been doing too much American trucking lately. Waiting for all the multiplayer servers to get up to date, and then we'll be back on Euro Truck hard again. I love playing Euro Truck on multiplayer. I love playing both of them on multiplayer, but this game right here is so much fun, and there's our first ticket. But as SCS said earlier in a blog post, this shifter right here is maybe not for everybody because of the fact that you have to have a steering wheel. And I had somebody ask me if you had to have a shifter in order to use this. I don't know what you'd connect this to, but I would say yes on that. It'd be very important to have a shifter in order to use this. So you've got to have a few hundred invested in your steering wheel. But for those of us that have gone out and gotten a steering wheel, this is a very small investment to really take that realism to the next level, to allow you to use what I consider the most fun shift patterns in the game. So that is going to be our review and demonstration wrap up for the SKRS. Very, very important also, if you do order one of these, we can save you $5 if you use the coupon code GUNNIN, or just visit the link in the description of this video. Head on over to CSIO's site and they'll get you set up over there, give you $5 off your order, and you'll help out the GunninGamerz community while you're at it. So we really do appreciate it. Those guys, again, I've met them in person. Huge thank you to Sean and Corey over there at CSIO Tech. They are outstanding with their customer service and getting back to people, helping them out, making sure everybody's got their stuff set up. Wonderful guys, wonderful product. I thank them so much for taking all the time and effort. Instead of just making this for themselves and just leaving it at that, they have started a company mass producing these things for all of us gurus that would love to get our hands on something but maybe don't have the time or the knowledge to go ahead and create it ourselves. So big thank you to them over there at CSIO Tech. And don't forget to check out our Amazon store for all the other recommended gear that we use here in the GunninGamerz studio. Follow us on Twitter for news and updates. Subscribe to us here in our YouTube channel. Check us out at twitch.tv/GunninGamerz, where you can see almost weekly, sometimes several times a week, us using this shifter in action. Ask us questions. We love answering them for you. So I guess that's all we have for today. Until next time, take care. For all of our Euro and Aussie fans that have been asking about the left-hand shift models, as well as shift knobs out of European style trucks such as the Scania, all I'm going to say is when we were out at their shop, we saw things. That's it. I'll let the guys over at CSIO give you all the news and updates of the things they've been working on.